Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mr. Chair.
Good morning, good morning, good morning to all of you here on November 8th for the meeting of the Morrison County Board of Commissioners. I'm going to look to our deputy clerk and ask if we have any additions or deletions to our agenda.
Make motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lemire, second by Commissioner Winchester to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, we have an agenda. I look to our administrator, Mr. LeBlanc, employee recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Here we are again, a highlight of a quarter. And in this quarter, what we're going to take time out today to do is to recognize 11 of our employees and for their commitment to Morrison County and to provide services to our 34,000 residents. Those 11 employees account for over 195 years of dedicated service, which is absolutely remarkable. So fantastic, and thank you everybody for being here, and thank you board for the opportunity to recognize these employees. So what we'll do is, as we call you up by year groups, if you will, I'll present you with a certificate, and first our 5 years gathering behind the board, we'll take a photo, and then we'll just keep going until we make it through all year groups, and then we'll have one group photo at the end. And then when we're done today, please grab your merch off the table in recognition of your service. But I couldn't be prouder, and thank you for what you do each and every day. It's remarkable just to come in and out of this building. Of course, today is a special day. It's Election Day. I was out there at Belle Prairie Township, and last night I visited Pike Creek, as well as Darling. And to see our township supervisors and to see our leadership out there, and they know that you exist to support them and to help them support our residents of the county. So very grateful for that. It's remarkable. I'm not used to people staying in one spot for 5 or 45 years. So it's great to see that. And I'll just say this, and it has nothing to do with years of service, but I saw Amy this morning. We were up in the Auditor Treasurer's office, and I think she asked me, well, where are you going to be tonight? And I said, exactly where Joyce needs me, and it's probably out of the way. So that's a testament to those folks that have done their profession for as long as you have. Hopefully, we've done our part to help you, enable you to do your job, but it's absolutely remarkable, and we're ever grateful. So let's start it off. Our very own HR department administration, Melissa Sinuski, 5 years of service. Thank you. Is Jacob here? All right. Kim Desert? Kim, congratulations. Thank you very much. Carmen.
Thanks, Kim.
Thank you, Carmen.
Congratulations, thank you.
Congratulations. Perfect. Marissa. Anderly. Thank you. Congratulations. Appreciate it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, these are your 5-year recipients. You're going to get a picture? How do you want them? Get them settled.
Oh, here we go. That'll work.
Certificates?
But I want Carmen in between Mike and Mike, please. Nope, I wanted everybody just to sit. Oh.
4 up front, 5 in the back.
Yep.
Almost perfect.
Yep. You girls need to take a half a step that way.
Perfect.
And Mike, you need to go on the other side of Carmen.
There it is.
There.
We should have practiced.
Now.
Carmen, hold that certificate up there. They look like your partners. There you go.
Perfect.
All right, one more time. Is Nicole here? There you are, all by yourself here at 15 years. Congratulations. That's a great run. Appreciate it.
Just me?
Are those chairs in the way, Tabby? Are they all right? Okay.
This microphone right here. Perfect. Got it.
Awesome. And our 20-year recipient, Nancy Zachmeyer. All right. Congratulations to Nancy. And Sarah Brenhog. 25 years. Fantastic. How does the time fly, huh? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
That's it.
Thank you so much. What department? Public health, there we are. You get right in the center, you're
That's right.
Everybody smile.
Thanks, Sarah. Kevin, all alone at 30 years. Congratulations, Kevin. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
I didn't think you were old enough to be here. You're awesome. You're awesome.
No, you don't look that
Cannot see Randy.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Shayla. 35 years, Miss Shayla Stratt. Also on the wall out here. Congratulations. Thank you.
Yeah, obviously another employee who started when they were 9. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Shayla.
you.
And if you were doing the math, you realize we weren't at 195 years quite yet. Drum roll, please. 45 years, Karen Sadrowski. Come on up. Just what you do, huh? Yeah, thank you so much. Congratulations. Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
You bet. Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything you do.
Kind of school, but 45 years later, here we go. Good job.
Thank
For
you.
days and a 64.
There you go, there you go.
Okay, make sure we have this right now.
You got it. Nailed it.
This way?
Names, you got to use names, Tabby.
Here you go. Now I got all your faces. We're good.
All right, let's have commissioners take seats here. Just a second, just a minute, Karen. Commissioners have a seat, and then we'll have everybody file up in behind you. We'll bring in the whole group. So if you were a recipient today, please come on up for a group photo.
How come Randy's always in the middle?
Good to see you. Good.
How's it going, Zach?
Good, good. How about you?
On vacation.
Awesome. Too short, as always, but
Well, that's a good sign you had a good time.
yeah.
Hands
on- hands
on table,
Step that way.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good.
There you go.
I'm switching you.
All right. I think we're pretty good. 1, 2, 3. I'll do one more here.
All right. Don't forget your swag. Congrats again. Thank you, Kim. Appreciate it. Thanks. See you later. Congrats. Thank you so much, Carmen. Appreciate it. Thanks, Sarah. Sheila, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. LeBlanc, thank you. What a great honor for us as board members to be able to start out our board meeting this way. This is tremendous. Gentlemen, next on the agenda, I have to ask if there's anything from the consent agenda that you would like pulled for further discussion. Anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Lemire, second by Commissioner Wilson. Discussion.
I just would like to make a point of discussion, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Lemire.
I just want to say that, like on 5/12 with Amy, we had a discussion on going from a part-time to a full-time employee because of the fact that she's down a few employees, and that she figured out a way to add additional help without adding additional employee, and it's within her budget. And then also the Long Prairie One Watershed One plan, we held many meetings over the last year on this, and it went to Bowser, come back from Bowser with approval, and all the townships, or all the other counties approved it, so this is our final step in that. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Lemire. Gentlemen, anything else? Anything else? Gentlemen, this is a roll call. Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Commissioner Lemire?
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher? Aye. Commissioner Jelinski?
Aye.
The chairman votes aye. All those voting in the affirmative, the consent agenda is passed. Next on the agenda, Adoption Awareness Proclamation. Good morning.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Good morning, Brad.
Morning.
Good morning, ladies.
We have here today a couple of our foster care licensors and one of their supervisors. And foster care is a critical service that we need in Morrison County to ensure the safety and welfare of our kids. So they're here just to talk about and get the adoption proclamation approved.
So first of all, I'd like to ask that you state your names for the record here this morning, and then please proceed with reading the proclamation.
My name is Kim Dezurek.
I'm Krista Tyson,
And Katie Canetto.
Very good. Thank you.
and I will read the proclamation. National Adoption Month is November of 2022. Whereas there are 1,229 Minnesota children in need of permanent and loving homes that are under the guardianship of the state of Minnesota. 16 of these children that need permanency and adoption are Morrison County children. And whereas almost all of these children have special needs because of physical, mental, or emotional disabilities, or because they must be placed as a sibling group. And whereas these children need extra patience and support to help them overcome previous trauma, children benefit from the connections of their family and their community supporters. And whereas children that age out of foster care are more likely to become homeless, incarcerated, and need the support of welfare benefits. Whereas in 2022, there will be 14 Morrison County children adopted by families, These families are able and willing to adopt children who have special needs, willing to attend special services and training in order to meet the needs of these children. And whereas children waiting for adoptive parents, as well as children and families that have completed adoptions, require and deserve community and public agency support. And now, therefore, be it resolved that November is hereby declared Adoption Awareness Month in Morrison County.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'll move on that.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Jelinski, a second by Commissioner Wincher. Discussion. Commissioner Wincher.
I think I probably say this every year. Again, I was part of the foster care and years ago, and again, it's with the adoption. We probably all here at the board, we all know somebody that is a parent that's adopting a child, whatever. And we have to commend them because, like, in your resolution, you know, they have special needs, these children do. And again, it's a very great thing that these parents do and you guys do to find these children and give them loving and caring homes. So again, thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Commissioner Wincher. Commissioner Jelinski.
And Mr. Chair, thank you. And I want to echo exactly what he says, but what I also want to say is it takes special people to do an extremely special job. And that might sound really different. It's not slighting another county employee. It's not citing another city employee. It's not citing someone out of this government facility. But to go through adoption, whether that adoption is from an infant to, forgive me, whatever the limited age would be on the other end, it truly takes special people to be involved in that. So truly, honestly, thank you all for that. That's a big deal.
Gentlemen, further discussion? Commissioner Lemire,
I
comments?
just would like to say thank you also and reiterate what the other two commissioners said. It's a tough job, but it's a noble job, and we thank you very much for what you do.
Commissioner Wilson?
I can't say much more than what they said, but I thank you very much because I know there's a lot of work that goes to this and a lot of feelings and everything. And, yeah, thank you.
Ladies, the work that you do gives hope to children in Morrison County, but you also create great opportunities for families out there to open their hearts and their homes up for these opportunities. So we can't thank you enough for your commitment to this work, all of it.
Thank you.
So can we have, can we have a vote?
There you go.
My apologies. Gentlemen, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of proclaiming this adoption month signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion prevails, the resolution is passed. Now can we have a picture with these wonderful ladies?
I think we can. Do we sit or stand? Stand? Sit, stand.
Stand.
Up, down.
Pull the mics down.
Move the chairs out of the road. There you go.
Come on in here, ladies.
Come right in. Thank you for everything.
Another one.
Do you want the proclamation signed before?
I think it looks fine, doesn't it?
So we'll have to move down.
We're not gonna,
Yes.
we're not gonna let him scope in that tight on that.
Right here, young, right over you.
Yep.
Right
I
there.
was gonna say, all the ladies need to scooch over. Okay.
Here, you hold it.
Let's
You're
see.
in the center.
Let Tabby go first. Okay, now I gotta scooch over here. All right. 1, 2, oh. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. There we go.
Perfect.
Thank you, ladies.
Everything you do.
Thank you.
Yep.
We have a foster baby, so I know that my daughter is watching every day.
That's baby. I don't know.
Well, I suppose you could, they just don't give you any.
Gentlemen, next on the agenda, we have Land Services. Good morning, Amy. Thank you for being here with us.
Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Amy.
I just have one item for you today, and that is to consider the interim use permit request from Samuel and Mindy Jennings. This was to establish a limited rural business specifically for an event venue. And the Planning Commission at their last meeting did recommend approval of this with 2 conditions. Those conditions are the IUP for the limited rural business shall be valid until the property is no longer owned by Samuel and Mindy Jennings. And then the second is the property owner shall arrange for an initial driveway entrance review with the Morrison County Public Works Department prior to November 8th, 2022. The property owner shall implement any upgrades and improvements identified by the Public Works Department prior to holding the first event. The property owner shall arrange for a driveway entrance review on an annual basis thereafter and shall implement any upgrades and improvements identified by the Public Works Department. The property owner shall notify the Land Services Department by December 31st of every calendar year that this review and any upgrades have been completed. And Mr. Chair, the applicant is here in case you have any questions.
I'll make a motion on that.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Wilson, a second by Commissioner Wincher to approve of this IUP. Discussion.
Again, I'm assuming Mr. Wilson, that's with the 2 conditions, correct?
Yes, conditions.
So, further discussion. Commissioner Wilson?
Yeah, I had somebody ask me about signage. In our application, is there like a sign you're gonna put up on the road or anything? So that people know where to go, so they're not driving in other people's fields and,
Sure. Mr. Chair, would it be okay if we invited the applicant up to answer some of these questions?
I would love that. I see they are both here, and I think that would be very helpful
All right.
if we let them speak for themselves.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Happy voting day.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Thank you. Pull the mic towards you. So, and your names for the record.
Samuel Jennings.
Mindy Jennings.
Thank you both for being here. Commissioner Wilson, your question regarding signage to the Jennings, would either of you like to comment on your plans in that direction?
Yeah, I spoke to Public Works. Is that Tony, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we kind of discussed that issue a little bit, and he said as long as the signage stays off of any county right-of-way turns, because we're on a corner, that he's totally fine. So we just have to keep it onto our property. And then we were talking about eventually maybe, appealing for a blue sign on the road. Prior to that, I don't know what those are called.
The 911 identification signs, is that what you're talking about?
Like an advertisement
Like
sign.
the Lutheran Church has one
Yeah.
near us, and Hillman Community Church has
Yes.
one. and-
Yep.
Or like a restaurant, like say,
Yeah,
turn here
coming
for a
up.
restaurant or.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Kowalczyk.
The Land Services Department would permit any on-site sign, and there is a requirement that that be out of the road right-of-way, so we would be working with the Public Works Department to identify where exactly their right-of-way is and to ensure that that sign is not in the right-of-way. I believe the blue sign they're talking about is a directional sign then that they go through the Public Works Department, and then those are placed in the right-of-way as a directional sign like you see for many other establishments.
Very good. Commissioner Wilson, does that answer your question?
I did, I had somebody ask that question. That does answer, except for the fact, Amy, what did we do when people want to put a sign by the road and they have to come in for a special permit? Or,
Well, billboards are only allowed in a commercial zoning district, and so we've had requests to rezone to commercial in order to put up a billboard. This is not that.
I'm trying to think, people that had some businesses at their homes, and they had to come and get a permit, and we had to have like an end date on that? Or am I,
Well, to establish the actual use that the sign is advertising, the sign was not the issue. It's usually if you're going to establish a use on the property that needs an interim use permit or requires a conditional use permit, they need permitting to establish the use, and then the sign then would be advertising that particular permitted use.
so they will not have to come back in if they want to put a sign?
They'd work with us administratively on a
do a
land
sign.
use permit, yes.
Because I wanted to make sure they didn't have to come back
No.
and go through this whole
No,
procedure to
no.
put a sign up.
No.
So,
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner Wilson. Further discussion, Commissioner Jelinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is probably going to sound like I am not in favor of you folks doing this, and that is not true. I just have some questions that I might be confused on, and if I am, yippee. And if I'm not, yippee. Let's get it straightened out to begin with. There was no talk about porta potties. Excuse me, there might have been talk at the planning commission about a porta potty. There was no conditions on a porta potty, and I mean this in respect. I'm all but positive you're gonna have a porta potty out there, or two, or three, or a half a dozen. Don't know. But just because we say we're gonna do something, doesn't mean we're gonna do it. Does that need to be a condition, or is that something that will come later at a later point in time? And I don't know that. So I have to ask Amy, and then that's the purpose I'm bringing that one up. And I actually have several other items that I want to talk on. So if we can address porta potties first?
You bet, Mr. Chair. Within the performance standards for limited rural businesses, item G speaks to that, and it says, "A septic system design for the anticipated flow and waste strength
Went by it.
shall be provided prior to the issuance of land use permits. In the case of an existing septic system, a compliance inspection, along with a review of the anticipated flow and waste strength and certification the system design is adequate, must be submitted prior to the issuance of land use permits." So, when they get to the point of building, a plumbed structure, this performance standard
Yep.
will cover that. In the case of this particular use where it's going to be tents, no designated building for that is served by a septic system, it certainly would be worth some discussion as far as what, if any, conditions you want to place on that for hand washing and for sanitary facilities in the meantime.
And all that comes to exactly the purpose of the discussion that
Yes.
I chose to have today, is that it sure seems to me that if we're talking about 150, and that was the number of people that I heard, and that's a little, I'll deal on that a little bit later. But if we're talking about 150 people, we probably need to have one or two or three or four or whatever, a number of porta potties, and I certainly believe that you would have some sort of a hand washing station. I think at the planning commission, you talked of having food vendors, I think, and I think you talked about having alcohol vendors, or beverage vendors maybe is a better word to put it, that we would have, I would just assume that if people are going to attend that there would be porta potty facilities and that there would be hand washing stations. And folks, thank you for shaking your head, but without that being a condition, this is exactly what we have, is shaking our head. Am I on the right page?
Yes, Mr. Chair, you certainly have the ability to place any additional conditions on this that you see fit.
And it's not up to me necessarily to suggest how many, but I would anticipate, in my opinion, that we need to have at least 2 porta potties and we need to have at least 1 hand washing station. That's just conversation is all I'm doing. Not, it's meant for discussion, it's meant for further conversation perhaps.
And to that point, gentlemen, comments, as per, I think where Commissioner Jelinski is going with his conversation, and Commissioner Jelinski, you correct me if I am wrong, But I think what you're trying to achieve here is some consistency that the planning commission maybe did not provide. I think if I'm reading into this correctly, you know, the planning commission has conditioned previous IUPs or CUPs to ensure that certain things are taken care of. Not that, and it is not in the sense that the planning commission or this board of commissioners is questioning the trustworthiness of the applicants, but is to allow us to make sure that we have these things recorded and that they will, and we know then that they will happen, and we can ensure to the residents that these things will happen.
Exactly. Thank you.
Am I correct?
That's correct.
For further discussion on this, Commissioner Wincher.
Thank you. Again, I believe our administrator pointed out on the one line, I don't know what page that is, it says no overnight accommodations or camping spaces proposed. Events would be allowed to go until 11 PM. Porta potties and portable hand washing stations would be provided on site. So is that part of the application that they have to follow? Or again, like Commissioner Zelinski, would we have to put a condition on that?
That's,
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Kwolzik.
Those are the details that the applicant provided, and so that was the spirit in which, and the information in which the planning commission recommended approval. Unless they're conditioned, I don't have the ability to hold them to any of that.
And the question would you be okay with having that as a condition, even though you have it part of your application? Just to confirm, and I agree with Commissioner Zelinski that, you know, you have a wedding venue, you're gonna need somebody,
Yeah.
something there.
Absolutely.
It doesn't make sense otherwise, yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah.
Commissioner Wilson.
The only question I have when we start talking number of porta potties, I don't think that should be the condition. I think porta potties should be the conditions, and then I think that we should have some type of standards that when you need 2 porta potties or 3, because first of all, if I got things correctly, I think you're dealing on some weekends. So, you know, there might be a month or 6 weeks between events, and I don't want you to have to be paying rent for those if you don't need them. And if you need 2, you need 2. If you need 3, you need 3, but I don't know exactly how to put that. I just don't want to put 2 as a condition and you got 10 people there, you know, so.
I think and Mr. Chair, I think it'll all work itself out. If they don't provide access to go into the restroom
Yeah,
at the
there's not gonna be
facility,
anybody
they're
there.
not gonna have anybody come there.
I think it would be the best bet, Mr. Chair, just provide porta potties as needed, because if I'm having my wedding venue and I bring everybody there and you don't have any facilities, that word's gonna spread pretty quick
Yeah.
then. you know, so-
Absolutely.
And I agree that maybe we should just kinda make it, you know, if you think you're gonna need 1, cause you're gonna have 100 people there, you're gonna have 400, I think that would be the best to the applicant to make that decision. But I think it should be part of you having provide whatever number it is, you know, so.
Any further discussion in reference to this is the first point that Commissioner Jelinski's looking or questioning on. If not, Commissioner Jelinski, I'll go back to you. You had mentioned you had a couple of things that you wanted to get
thank you.
questioned.
For those that don't know, or for those that care, I used to play in a band. I know what kind of noise bands can make. I know that was one of the questions that one or more of the people that evening had was, what are we gonna do about the noise? In fact, I gotta be honest with you, I don't know the man's name, but I think he was the mayor of Hillman, that said, well, I can hear their dog barking. And I'm fine with that, that's okay. So what am I gonna hear when we have an event and there is a band? Now, whether that band is a one-person DJ operation, or whether that's a 5-piece rock and roll band, there really was nothing clear to me as to what we're gonna do for noise. I think I heard someone say, well, we'll put the sides down on the tent. Gotta tell you, folks, that don't make it. That does not take care of the noise that a band or a DJ can make. And I don't know that we need anything. I'm just bringing this up for discussion if we need to have another asterisk by something that, how do we plan to control the noise? And I don't know that there's an answer for that, really. I'm just talking out loud. And Mr. Chair, I'll yield back to you to, if there's anything further needed to be talked about on that, or if we need a condition of whatever kind, and I don't know what that answer is. But we're not talking about a structure where this music venue is inside a physical structure. At this point in time, we're talking about a tent, I assume, or in fact, let's be honest about it. It's June or July. No band wants to be in a tent if they don't have to be in June or July, if we can be outside on a platform of some stage of whatever it might be.
Thank you, Commissioner Jelinski. So my first reaction to this, in the spirit of consistency, is we also have an event that takes place every year, kind of in that same neighborhood out there, with large vehicles and fun horsepower. And I'm not sure if we ever discuss noise levels or things like that. That's my first blush, my friend. I'm going to ask for input from the board. Commissioner Wilson, to help us out.
Well, I know at a lot of these events, we have a time that the music has to stop. And I think they have 11 o'clock is when the music's supposed to stop. That probably doesn't address noise and how loud things could be, but the music is supposed to stop at 11 o'clock. So that's what they've got.
Anything else, gentlemen? Commissioner Jelinski, your thoughts on that?
And Mr. Chair, perhaps 11 o'clock is the answer. I don't know that that was given to the residents that had a question. What I heard about 11 o'clock was, at the meeting, was an 11 o'clock hard shutdown. That's what I heard anyway. That's what my hard of hearing ears heard, was a hard shutdown, which I don't even understand what a hard shutdown is. I've got hard shutdown in my mind. I know what it is. But I'm also very familiar with, if we're going to shut this operation down at 11 o'clock, and we're going to have beverages, perhaps alcoholic beverages provided, perhaps a band provided, if that band quits at 11 o'clock, I'm here to tell you, you cannot blink your eyes and 150 people are gone. Doesn't work. It just doesn't. Whether that shutdown is 11 o'clock and people are, I'll guarantee you they're still there at 11:15. And perhaps this is semantics. I don't know if it is or not. But my guess is at 11:30, you still have people on the ground. You probably have people on the grounds at midnight. I don't know the answer to that question, but I'm just throwing it out, and we're just having the conversation if we need to actually have a condition that says it. We don't have a condition that says we're shutting this place down at 11 o'clock. There is none. At least the Planning Commission did not make one that I'm aware of. So do we need to actually have a condition that at 11 o'clock the band shuts down, and at blank o'clock there will be nobody left on the grounds? I don't know. I'm just talking out loud. That seemed to me to be a issue, not a great issue, but it seemed to me that that was a question that was brought up of the public that was there that night.
Thank you, Commissioner Jelinski. Commissioner Wincher?
Thank you. This is for Amy. Under the finding of facts, where the no overnight combinations brings up to 11 o'clock, brings up the porta potties, would that be okay to put that in as a condition rather than the finding of fact? Because then that pretty much covers everything that we're discussing right now.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Kowalczyk?
It would remain as part of the findings of fact because it's a record of what was discussed. If you wish to carry through some of those statements or understandings into conditions, then it would certainly be appropriate to do that to ensure that those understandings are followed through with, and then that certainly becomes a point of of compliance with the permit.
Mr. Chair, to follow up with your comment was that, place that you're talking about, they have a time too, where they gotta shut everything down. I don't know if it's written as a finding of fact or a condition. I think it's a condition.
What's the condition?
Mr. Chair, that isn't subject to my ordinance because that's under the large assembly ordinance, which I don't deal with.
All right, there.
And I also want to be careful that we're not necessarily, micromanaging this to the point, and this is my thoughts, gentlemen, if there is if the applicants are proposing a hard stop at 11 o'clock for, let's say, music or entertainment, and if that's kind of how I interpreted this at the hearing. I'm trying to be careful not to go and say that, and I'm not sure if this is where you're going, Commissioner Jelinski, but to say that now the people have to be out of there at 11:05, or, I think it's allowable for them to stop entertainment at 11 o'clock, if that's their choice, they want to set that as their hard stop to stop the noise or the music or things like that at 11 o'clock. I don't necessarily have a problem if they would like to have the ability to have their guests be there to mingle, socialize. I don't care if they have another beer and stay till 12:30 or 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock, like a lot of our drinking establishments within the county. They just can't, it's also stated in here that there's no overnight. So these people will leave, and they will be asked to leave. I'm not sure I'm not sure that I myself want to go to the point to say these people have to be out of there by a specific time on the clock, because we're already stating that they won't be there overnight. I'm open to more discussion from my colleagues, but Ms. Kowalczyk, you look
I
to have a comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I want to direct you to the findings of item number 2 that the Planning Commission found, and this really is speaking to what you are discussing right now. And that standard that the applicant needs to meet is the request will not be detrimental to the use and enjoyment of other property in the immediate vicinity for the purposes already permitted, nor impede the normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding vacant property for uses predominant in the area. The finding that the Planning Commission made was this proposal will not impede others' ability for normal and orderly development. However, noise may be an issue if not controlled by the property owner. Performance standards for limited rural businesses are in place, including standards for noise, to address this concern. So really what you should be looking at is, does this finding stop short of answering that question in the yes for you? Or does a condition need to be in place in order to mitigate any of the impact that this use would have against this standard?
Commissioner Jelinski?
I wholeheartedly agree. We shut the music off at 11 o'clock. I wholeheartedly agree with Commissioner Blaine when he says, you know what? We're going to make a bonfire right now, and we're going to sit around and we're going to have a couple more brewskis. So be it. Till 11:30, till 12 o'clock, or you know what? Till 3 o'clock. There's no time, is my point. And my point is that the neighborhood has a concern about it, and I'm just asking the question, do we need to have a time when a condition of at 3 o'clock, I'm just gonna use this as way out there. At 3 o'clock in the morning, there is nobody. The fire's out. There is no noise. Or is that a little bit in excess? And maybe it is. I'm just the conversation.
Ms. Kowalczyk.
Mr. Chair, I think one of the things that we can do is, this is a concern you've brought up. The question should be asked of the applicant, what do you propose? What do you propose to overcome this issue? That is the applicant's job for this. So I think you've heard very clearly what the concern is, that this will drag on and be very disruptive. What do you propose as a condition to mitigate that?
So I know as part of, our plan is, as part of the contract that we plan on when we do have somebody wanting to reserve a wedding, let's just say. Part of the contract will be those things very clearly in writing, like music, DJ, that ends at 11, and they have to agree to that. Another condition is also part of the contract is that they have to hire, whether it is someone that we provide or someone that they provide, but they have to provide a wedding planner, a wedding coordinator who is actually overseeing the entire event from start to finish. And that includes from setup to tear down. And so, this is all new even to us, and we're in the plannings and all that, so things are very fluid, but, some of the thoughts were, music is turned off at 11 and, cleanup needs to be completed by midnight. And so I don't know that we anticipated people just hanging around for hours upon hours afterwards.
We don't do that ourselves, so.
Yeah, I think if in the contract it is set up and worded very specifically, they have to agree to that, and then the coordinator has to follow, he or she is the one that has to follow through with, these requirements. And of course, we're on site as well, so.
Thank you. Gentlemen, thoughts on that response? Commissioner Jelinski, does that help you in this concern?
Sure, it helps. So would it be fair to be able to put a condition on that there's nobody left there at 1 o'clock in the morning? Is that a fair condition? I'm just asking.
It would be.
Or don't we need one?
I don't think we need one, Mr. Chair.
And so, thank you, Commissioner Lemire. Gentlemen, if you've got input on this, I think what Commissioner Jelinski is looking at is if we're going to formulate, or at least my interpretation, if we're going to formulate some additional conditions that were not placed on by the Planning Commission, can we either get agreement or agreement to not on that? Commissioner Lemire, you have just stated you're not in favor of going that direction. Commissioner Wincher, you have your hand up.
Yeah, and this is towards the applicant. They want this to be successful. Common sense is gonna say they're not gonna allow this because, again, they want more and more weekends. I think, again, the porta potties, maybe, if they wanna have a condition on that one, because, again, but, you can't, it's no different than when you have a bar at 2 o'clock, if somebody's, I know they can't stay there, but they might be there till 2:05, and, where do you stop? So in my case, I agree. The only condition I would be, in favor of is maybe doing the porta potty at their own, judgment, so otherwise I'd be okay with the rest of it. And even that one, the porta potty, it wouldn't be a big deal to me.
Commissioner Wilson, thoughts?
I guess I like they have a contract, they have a wedding planner or something for these events, so they know what they're getting into. I think we're trying to find things that we can't expect to happen if they would happen, and I think we need to deal with that later if things aren't done the way you're suggesting. I think that's when, or you can't. I think that's what Amy's saying, yeah.
We don't have the ability, once this is granted, if you don't have a condition, so say there's an event that goes until 2 a.m. and there's no condition that the music end, there is no ability to revisit it.
And that, I just, Mr. Chair, I just need to make it very clear. That's my concern. I am not against this proposal in front of us at all. My concern is that if we don't have conditions for certain things, okay, it's all open. Let us do whatever we want to do. And that, I don't think, is the intent at all for anybody. But if there's not a condition written down, we don't revisit it any longer.
Ms. Jennings?
Yeah, just real quickly, I guess a question is, so what are the conditions set on other event centers here in the county? I mean, they're not all indoors, and not everyone stays within the confines of that building. They get married outside, or they go out afterwards and have a bonfire, or play games, or they, have a party, like, they're not confined inside. So what are the conditions to other event centers? Is there a requirement to stop at a certain time? Is there?
Ms. Kowalczyk?
Mr. Chair, what we've seen on other event venues have been end times for music, prohibition of fireworks, regular garbage service and pickup, provision of sanitary facilities, provision of licensed caterers and alcohol servers. I'm trying to think what else. No, all the parking needs to be off-street. So those are typically what we've seen in other permits that have gone for event venues. And so generally, a time when music stops is addressed.
And to that point, I want to make sure I keep up with the conversation here and trying to manage this, but, so we've established that on paper, that entertainment will end at 11 o'clock, meaning music at 11 o'clock, or was that not established, and could be established with a condition?
That's correct, Mr. Chair. It was, part of the findings was that is what the applicant had stated in their application and during the hearing. However, it as of now, it's on a condition.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. LeBlanc?
from my perspective, it seems there's some differing concerns, and then also to Commissioner Jelinski not wanting to end up in a position maybe the county can't get out of. Perhaps the condition is adjusted that it's for a one-year period instead of until they no longer own the property, and it can be reviewed at that time and then make a decision. It's just another option that's out there for the board.
Thank you, Mr. LeBlanc. Commissioner Wilson?
I guess, since you suggest 11 o'clock, you want the music to be done. If we make a condition 11 o'clock, then if for some reason they would ever want to go longer than that, because for some odd reason, then they could come back and ask for that, correct?
Mr. Chair, they would need to come in, and request a public hearing to amend that condition, yes.
Are you okay with 11 o'clock, since that's what you suggest, for music to stop?
Yeah, I mean, we're the ones that suggested that.
Yeah.
I feel like that is, our desire is 11 o'clock,
Okay.
because, I mean, we don't want this going, we truly want to be good neighbors. We
Yeah.
truly want to, we're not out to create an unwelcome environment for anyone, and we want,
Yeah,
so.
we feel like we've already tried. I mean, we talked about trees that we planted to stop sound.
1,000 trees.
Over, 1,000 trees, and we'll continue to plant and do that. I know that they don't grow like quick enough, but they will be there, and eventually it will help. And the road that we live on is very busy. We live close to the Sioux line, so there's a lot of traffic on that. So I don't know how that all works too, as far as noise. All the people that ended up with them, the ATVs in the backyard, but it's a loud road, so.
It's a loud
it is-
area.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we live there, so. And where we chose, we could have chosen up on a hillside, but we chose down in the valley, so that the sound would not travel as much as it would. And the tent is actually a high-quality tent. It's more than just your average.
An actual event.
Yeah,
tent.
it's an event tent, so it's 75 by 30, so it's a large, and its walled structure is actually it's well built, so You know, we're trying as many things as we possibly can to make
I've
this.
researched sound barrier things that you can actually do to tents and, yeah, we are trying.
Thank you. Commissioner Wilson?
I just think, why don't we put 11 o'clock down for a condition? That way it gives you an out too. If people want to go, you can say the county says we got to be done by 11. That way everybody kind of knows exactly where we're at here.
For the discussion, Commissioner Lemire.
For Amy, Amy, are performance standards enforceable?
Yes, they are.
So we could use the performance standards if they did go past 11 o'clock as our ability to enforce it.
The performance standard says hours must be reasonable, so,
Well, the noise, it mentions the noise.
correct.
aspect.
Yes, and so
So
if
it could
I
be
get
that.
complaints from neighbors saying that I'm experiencing noise from this use, then yes, that would be a performance standard that they're in violation of and would need to make corrections in order to fix that, yes.
Thank you.
So we'll go back to Commissioner Jelinski.
And Mr. Chair, I only have two more things, and believe it if you can, the last one is my suggestion of 1 year as a condition to find out how this event establishment is going, that you come back. That's my last one. But the one right before that is one event per weekend was another thing that I heard during the planning commission. But there is nothing saying that you can't have 2 or 3 or 4 per weekend. And I'm supporting this. But are you having 1 event per weekend? And is there a condition that says you're gonna have 1 per weekend? Or can you really have 3 per weekend? I'm just asking, that's all I'm doing. I'm kind of the bad guy on this one, but I'm really not. I just want to make it clean for you folks that at the end of the day, somebody's not coming back saying, wait a second, you had 2 weekends or 2 events that weekend, you can only have 1. Well, where does it say that? Well, that was what I heard. That's what I thought. And I don't care. If you have 2, good. But should there be a condition that you can have 2? Well, then, is there a condition you could have 4? I'm just asking the question. That's all.
I have an opinion on this, but I'm not going to share it yet. I'm going to look to my colleagues' input. Commissioner Lemire.
I think it's difficult to, I don't know how to go about this, but I think it's difficult to start up a new business the way it is, and I personally don't want to put any more wrenches in their spokes if I can at all possible do that. They seem like a great group, great couple that are doing their best to provide the best for their neighbors. So I don't see any more reasons to put any more conditions on what they already have, other than if you want the porta potty thing, I'd be all right with that. But again, that's something that I don't think is necessary either, because if they don't have a porta potty they're not gonna get any other people to come there, because the word will get out that, geez, they don't even have porta potties there for me to go to the bathroom with. And so I think, I don't know, I think we're being too difficult myself, but that's just me.
Thank you, Commissioner Lemire. Commissioner Wilson, comments?
I kind of agree with what Mike's saying. I don't think, I don't know, we're kind of making this a little more than what it's ever been before. So, and I don't think it's at you people. I think we're trying to clarify when we should have a condition or when shouldn't we have a condition. I think that's what he's looking at there, but I'm okay with things. I think we've got enough conditions that, go ahead.
Commissioner Wincher, any thoughts?
I don't know, I just, again, they're trying to open up a business, and I just reiterate for the second, they're not gonna make people off, because they wanna make it successful. So, and their neighbors, she just mentioned that they wanna be neighborly, so if they're doing all this here, that's gonna be complaint driven too. So, again, if, like I say, I'm the porta potty, that's it, but I say, as far as again, Amy clarified, so other events, we did put an end date for the time, and then if they would have to come back, if we put 1 here, they would have to pay a fee again to,
Correct.
so, okay, so that was my question there, is they'd come back, but the second one was, do we put an end time on events, and I think you stated.
Mr. Chair, we have in the
Okay.
past, yes.
And then they said they would be, and again, Commissioner Jelinski makes a good point, you know, maybe it'll help them too, if we would put 11 o'clock, you know, it's, you know, and just, I don't know, but I don't think we need to do much more for this. Let's let them see how things go.
Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
Well, I'm going to address one of the points that you made, Commissioner Jelinski, with the greatest respect to you and the rest of the board, but one place I won't go, or I'll be careful in going there, where if we have someone or an organization that is willing to start a business and we start to put parameters on them as far as how much business they can have. We don't have the ability to go to Walmart and say, you can only sell this much product this week, and when you get to that point, you have to stop. I don't, you know, if there was discussion at the Planning Commission hearing that they would like to try and facilitate one event a weekend, I'm fine with that. If they are the consummate professionals and find that they have the ability to do a wedding on Friday night and a family reunion on Saturday and a gospel church revival on Sunday afternoon, hallelujah to you. And this is a good thing for business. It's a good thing for the county. I'm not willing to hamstring you and say you can only do this, because it would be the same as me going to I view it the same as me going to some of my egg producers and say, you can only raise this many crops, you can only have this many hogs, you can only do this, or to local businesses and say, you can only serve this many meals, and then after that you have to close for the day. So I want to be careful not to go there. I also am very cautious about changing the length of this permit from what was recommended by the Planning Commission to this board as far as ownership of the property by the applicants to 1 year, and then requiring them to spend money to have us have another public hearing on this. I think Ms. Kowalczyk has shared with us, and we know this too, that the findings of fact do give us opportunities to provide input to the applicants, even after this business is established and permitted. I think they come here with the intention to do things right and with respect to their neighbors. All that being said, I do believe in consistency in governance, and we typically do condition to make sure that there is sanitary facilities at these businesses, and that they are correct. And I'm also fine if you would like to establish a hard stop time that is actually part of that condition. That's where I'm at with this. Gentlemen, further discussion.
I just want to say one thing.
Commissioner Lemire.
We have put a year condition on some individuals, but those individuals were usually after the fact, and individuals that weren't following the rules after we initiated them to get an after-the-fact permit.
Mr. Chair?
Just want to clarify that.
Ms. Kowalczyk, help us here.
To Commissioner Lemire's point, I just wanted to point out that there's a reason why some uses are allowed under an IUP or a CUP and aren't permitted principal uses. So for example, when you look in, this is the agriculture zoning district, in the ordinance, we have a list of uses that are allowed, and the county determines under what circumstances those could be established. So those permitted principal uses like agricultural use, yes, that's really unfettered use of the property. When it comes to use like this, like a limited rural business, essentially what the county is saying is in some circumstances, this use would be okay, but we need to look at it on its individual merits. That's where you look at location. You look at ability of utilities to serve the use. You look at all of those dynamics. So this is one where you do look at each one of those on their individual merits and the circumstances around. And that certainly does speak to this criteria that they need to meet in order to do that, and the ability to place conditions on those to mitigate any of those concerns or any of those standards that they don't meet on their face. So it is different than the Walmarts of the world that are located in a commercial zoning district where it is permitted principal use. This is different, and this is that weighing and balancing that you're obligated to do, and to have that conversation with the applicant about how they meet those requirements in order for you to permit the use.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Jelinski.
one final thing.
Certainly.
I just want to be very clear. I support this event wholeheartedly. The absolutely only reason that I brought up any of these points are because I just want to make sure we're not missing something here. I don't want to have to see these folks come back here, and so somebody can say, shame on you. Again, I heard very clearly 11 o'clock is the hard shutdown. Interpretation, interpretate that any way you want to. I interpret it as 11 o'clock, it's done. Boom, we are done. Hard shutdown. Doesn't make any difference. I'm just talking out loud. What did it mean, and what did it mean to those that were in attendance that night? That's just what I heard. That's all. I support what we're talking about. I support the limited rural businesses. I've got it. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to miss something. That's the only reason for any of the discussion. It is not a slam at you folks, just so we're on the right page, at all. And really, truly, that's all I've got.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Qualls.
If I can just circle back as far as where we're at, what I'm hearing is the motion has been made for conditions 1 and 2 as written in the findings, but then also would be consideration for a third condition for the porta potty at the, in the amount and number at the discretion of the property owner, and then also that the music end time would be 11 p.m. That's what I've made note of as far as what's kind of being formulated as conditions at this point.
Gentlemen, Commissioner Jelinski, I'll kind of yield back to you. You brought up these concerns, you've articulated them well, and we've had very good discussion about this. I think that we're doing a good job of running this through the combine. I'm trying to get to the end game here. Would you be proposing to add those two conditions as Ms. Kowalczyk has stated? Do we have the first two that were in place that came to us from the Planning Commission? Desire of yours, Commissioner Jelinski?
I would have absolutely no issue with adding those two as a condition. That's the wishes of the board. I would have no problem at all adding those two things. We could add 4, 5, 6, 7 more things as far as conditions. I would have no problem with that. That essentially will be up to the board.
Wishes of the board, Commissioner Wilson.
I made the motion before. I'll make that with those two conditions, 11 o'clock shutdown and that there's porta potties on site. So my motion will have those two items added to the list.
And I'll second to the amendment that Commissioner Wilson made.
And is there further discussion to that? Further discussion? I want to make one clarifying point. When we're talking about 11 o'clock, we keep talking about this 11 o'clock shutdown. I want that to be clarified, that we're talking about entertainment and/or music. We're establishing that 11 o'clock timeline in an effort to address noise. And I want there to at least be flexibility that if there are people there sitting around a bonfire or playing guitar and singing till 11:30 or midnight, or just visiting, that we're not going to hamstring these. Thoughts?
11 o'clock's the music needs to quit.
Okay. So, we have a motion, we have a second to approve of the IUP to Samuel and Mindy Jennings for this business with the four conditions that have been discussed. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed. You have an IUP.
All right,
Good
thank
luck.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
so
you
much.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you for being here and for your patience with us, and good luck with your venture.
Excellent.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Gentlemen, we deserve to take 5, maybe even 6.
I think we do too, and why wouldn't we?
Why wouldn't we?
Amy, do you think there's enough room in there for?
Yeah.
So we'll reconvene here at 10:23.
Morning, Tony.
Morning, Tony.
Good morning, Tony. You're up, and you've got an annual report for us and some discussion.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, Commissioners. So we have a kind of a annual road and bridge update for you. It's kind of fun to recap what's happened, over this past year. About this time last year, you had John Shalanka and Steve Bukowski sitting here. They gave a real in-depth snow plowing kind of presentation. This year, we're just going through kind of our construction, what happened in the road and bridge, and then we'll touch a little bit on snow plowing and some of the other initiatives that we're going through. Yeah, here's one of our 22 transportation projects. I believe this will look a little familiar to you, Commissioner Blaine. That's CSAH 15 there.
Yep.
So if you look at our 2022 contract summary, this past year we had a really large contract year for road construction, north of 15 million, almost $16 million if you include their maintenance contract. So there's 4 actual construction contracts awarded in 2022, and then the 5th maintenance striping contract. So of these contracts, we utilize a bunch of different funds. This road here is County Road 229. This is actually a local option sales tax project. So of those funds we utilized in 2022, we used some federal block grant funds, some federal HSIP funds, our county state highway funds, or highway dollars that come off your gas sales tax of the state of Minnesota. Then we used our local option sales tax funds, and then we also used some levy dollars to complete construction this year. So when you look at all these different fundings, the federal block grant funds and the HSIP funds, those are all very variable. Our CSAH funds, for the most part, are uniform, or we receive them yearly. And then our levy dollars and our sales tax funds come from within this county. Our sales tax funds really contribute to our construction inside this county. Almost 20% of our road construction projects are attributed to those local option sales tax funds. It's really such an asset that Morrison County is able to utilize those funds for these kinds of projects. They help our program tremendously. Go over our next one here. So in 2022, we had kind of an interesting year. Everyone inside the state of Minnesota and nationally experienced a lot of material procurement issues. So of those just shy of $16 million worth of work, we actually completed a little over 10 million. There'll be a little bit more. We're actually still kind of doing some finishing touches on 4th Street for the winter here. So we actually completed contract 301, 302, and the 2201. So contract 301 was our federal project down by Swanville there, CSAH 15. Our 302 project was our bituminous project, so that was spread across the whole county. Many roads got touched there. And our 2201 is our striping maintenance contract. So for 2023, outside of our normal transportation program, we're actually going to be carrying about $5 million worth of work over next year. So we'll have a pretty good workload on top of our normal workload out there. So those specific projects that we'll be working on next year, we're going to be working on completing our box culvert contract. That's roughly $2 million worth of work. We were able to finalize one box culvert this year. That was actually the township road. So we'll have all our actual county roads next year. So it'll be CSAH 1, CSAH 26, and CSAH 46. Those will all be hopefully early in the season, because as you'll see in a couple of slides, one of our federal projects next year is actually CSAH 1, so we better get that box culvert in before we start paving out there. The other project we're working on wrapping up for the winter is 4th Street. 4th Street, if you go to the next slide there, is about 30 to 40% complete. The contractor chose to do the phase between 5th Ave and 27 this year. So they again had a lot of material procurement issues. It took a long time to get water pipe, sewer pipe, and then our actual concrete pipe. You can see a storm sewer manhole there, so the crews are installing. So where that project's gonna sit for this winter, we have our first lift of pavement on that. We have all the underground utilities installed, so all the homes have water, sewer, storm sewer. And then we've completed probably 3/4 of the sidewalk, and the rest of it's all getting temped in for the winter. So this winter, when we open that up to everyone, there'll be a lift of pavement on there, so everyone will still be able to utilize the road. It just won't be complete. So next year, we'll be putting that final lift, completing sidewalk, seating, stuff of that nature in 2023. And then they'll be continuing on the rest of the project. So the city of Little Falls will be working on some stuff north of 27 that's included in this contract, and then all of the rest of the stuff from Fifth Ave south. You know, so one of the contracts that we talked about was our pavement markings. Striping is one of the highest returns on money spent for safety improvements. Here at Morrison County, we put a significant amount of funds into keeping our striping up to date. This past winter, we were reviewing our maintenance striping program, trying to decide what's the best way to essentially get a cycle, so it's something very repeatable. We ended up coming with a kind of a 3-year turn. So for 2022, we striped about 187 miles of the county. You'll notice that the majority of the striping was done on the east side there. So when you look at our 2023 program, we're actually going to be in the northwest corner of the county, 2024 southwest. There are a couple of outliers there. Basically, any higher traffic volume roads, we decided that it's good to have those striped on a little quicker basis. You know, some of the other things as construction season wrapped up, you know, we do in-house that not a lot of people notice, which is a good thing, is our bridge safety inspections. That's a Sioux Line Trail bridge there. So if we go over our next one here. You know, Morrison County has over 223 bridges inside the county. Some of those are owned by the township, some of them are trails. So the Federal Highway Administration, the state of Minnesota, require bridge safety inspections. So we're out on different frequencies inspecting structures inside the county to ensure that they are safe. Obviously, this has all been heightened after the I-35 bridge in the early 2000s. There was actually a collapse in southern Minnesota of a bridge. So, you know, we have staff, myself included, and then some other staff that do bridge safety inspections here for the county. And those frequencies are 12, 24, 48 months. So just for kind of a fun fact, you think, what is a bridge considered in Minnesota? By federal law, anything over a 20-foot span is considered a bridge. In the state of Minnesota, we restrict that a little more, so anything over a 10-foot span. So a lot of these structures are actually culverts, but again, they still function as a bridge structure for us. So on this page here, we're looking at what we're inspecting this year. Our staff's doing approximately 84 bridges. Again, we're trying to get on a cycle where it's steady. We had a fluctuation where last year we inspected almost 140. This year we were only required to do about 20. So we're trying to get that as an even keel plane so we have a uniform workload. Then we can staff things appropriately instead of having a bunch of staff doing bridges and then not any staff doing bridges. Then we can get a little more even keel. And as I mentioned before, some of these bridges are our Sioux Line Trail or trail bridges, and then we also oversee the township bridges for their safety as well. If you go to the next slide, here's some of the things we're looking for. We're looking for defects in the bridges. That's a Sioux Line Trail bridge there. So as a bridge ages and deteriorates, different portions of the bridge can start to fail. In this case, you see a little bit of concrete falling apart, some exposed rebar. As that bar becomes exposed to corrosive materials, it'll expand, you'll have section loss on that steel. And those are the things we're monitoring. So it helps us to get our hands on these bridges, physically see what's going on and rate them. And potentially maybe we have to rate them down so we don't have the heavier equipment going over them and having a failure. In this case, this is actually a Sioux Line Trail bridge. That bridge was designed for a train, and now we have bicycle traffic and snowmobiles and ATVs. So this may look as a scary defect, but in all reality, there's so many redundancies in that bridge that it's not going anywhere.
Tony, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Is this a recent picture?
Yes, that was from this fall.
Because didn't we redo those pilings, all of them here, the last few years?
That's not the bridge over the Mississippi.
Oh, that's not the bridge
No,
over?
sir.
Okay, I was gonna say, I thought we just did all those pilings and that don't look good if we did.
Yeah, no, so
Okay.
that's actually the bottom of the substructure. A different,
Okay,
a
thank you.
different location on the Sioux Line.
I was questioning our work that we did.
Commissioner Lemire.
Tony, I just got a question just for my own knowledge. What's the difference, or could you define an off-limit bridge and a restricted bridge?
So I'm not sure what an off-limit bridge would be. I guess that'd be something we close. It's not a technical term we use. But like a restricted bridge is a bridge that's open to the traveling public, and then we'll restrict what vehicles or the axle weights that go across it. So typically those bridges have some deterioration, and we want to restrict how heavy pieces of equipment or tractor trailers go across, just to hopefully prevent any catastrophic failure. And you, yes, sir. So when we're doing these inspections, what it does is it highlights what we have in our system and also serves as a way for us to start programming bridges for replacement. So if we go to the next slide here, we start looking at our 2023 program. And we haven't finalized this yet, but we have 2 federal funded projects next year that will for sure be happening. And one of them is the CASA 6 bridge replacement by Sobieski. So that's a structure that's been deteriorating. You know, the county has been monitoring it for years, and we applied and received federal funding for it. So that bridge is going to be taken care of next year. It'll be quite the structure. You can see kind of a plan sheet there. Our other big federal project next year is our CASA 1 from Randall up to CASA 5 there. And that's going to be a reclaim and pave project, very similar to the CASA 15 project this past year, almost identical. So we'll be adding a little bit of paved shoulders and some sinusoidal rumble strips on the edge line. Those 2 projects, with those funds coming in, we need to deliver in 2023. So those plans are already into the state of Minnesota. We're hoping for some early lettings on those. As we evaluate the rest of our 2023 program, we have a joint project with the city of Royalton on County Road 234. That's one of our high priorities next year. And then the rest of the program, we're trying to decide, or shifting things around on what kind of funding comes in from the state. We received some information in October that they may be cutting some of our state aid funds a little bit, just in that there wasn't as much money spent on gas and tabs in 2022. We won't know those final numbers till early January, but that was just a projection they had showed us in October. So we'll wait to see where those funds are at before we finalize our program, and we'll be back, in January, February, or early next year, talking about our full 23 transportation program. On that picture there, or the next one here, we had a couple students in from Pierce High School this past year. They spent some time with the engineering department and the maintenance department. They were curious. You can see them with one of our engineering technicians, Brady Becker, pointing at the screen there. It's really nice to have some youth come by. The engineering field in general is really hurting for employees. So to keep having students that have interest, it's wonderful that they're there, and hopefully maybe they come back and work inside the area. So we talked a little bit about our engineering program. 2022 was quite the road maintenance year. There's a picture of a 47 turn lane that was completed. So you look at some of the stats that the guys completed this year. We actually completed 7 center line culvert tapers. So it's replacing a full pipe and then extending your taper out, eliminating a bump. 51 access or driveway culverts along county roads. We installed 5 turn lanes, that previous picture you saw there. And then we actually closed our County Road 200, the railroad crossing there. That turned out quite nice. And then our routine patching, crack sealing, mowing, brushing. And then we kind of have the ominous storm cleanup and road repair. If you go to your next picture. So
Tony, can I stop you for a second?
Absolutely.
When you were talking about culverts, and maybe I just heard this and you didn't even say it, are we talking residential culverts?
Accesses. So the way the county has it set up, once the homeowner or landowner has a culvert installed, we're responsible for it after. So if they fail, the county replaces them.
So if I get a permit to make a driveway, I have to find a contractor to build my driveway.
Yep.
And once my driveway is built, and I don't know the answer, so that's why I'm asking. Does the county come and inspect it to say it meets your approval, and then it becomes virtually the property of the county?
Yeah, so if you're starting a new access, you'd come in for an access permit.
Yep.
We have our typicals and specifications that are required. Typically, people use a contractor. Our staff will evaluate whether or not a culvert's needed. If it is, they'll spec the size. We'll say what kind of inslopes and stuff like that you'll have to have. Once the property owner installs it, then we'll come back and evaluate, make sure that that was installed to our specifications. And then after that, you know, for the life of the culvert, the county will help you maintain that. You know, we're not going to widen it, say your access needs change, but say that culvert fails in 20, 30 years or whatever, we'll help replace that. And so that's what you're seeing here, a combination of new accesses and then replaced culverts. So it's a considerable task and really generous of Morrison County to provide those kind of services.
Wonderful, thank you. Very good. That's a great explanation.
So yeah, here's a centerline taper, you know, obviously a lot larger than a driveway culvert. This is going across one of our county roads here. You can see them installing the new pipe. And those edges will actually get cut back at a 10-to-1. What that's doing is it helps eliminate a large dip. So we're spreading that dip over a longer surface, so you get a little more rider comfort out of it. You go to our next slide. This is our County Road 200 crossing, or what was the County Road 200 railroad crossing. You can see it's been removed. That work got completed June, July of this past year. We're still waiting on our funding agreement or our compensation from BNSF and MnDOT. We've received part of those funds, but we're waiting for the rest of it. Once we receive those funds, we'll be issuing some funds to the townships as agreed upon last October from the board. And then we'll be moving forward with the vacation and the revocation of our County Road 200. So as you can see here, it turned out really nice. You give it another year, you'll never know that there actually was a road there. I think the people around the lake are really happy. The train's not blowing their whistle as much anymore with one less crossing there. The guys did a very nice job. We had quite the summer with unusual events. You know, we had 2 significant storm events, and then obviously the Public Works fire. If we go to the next one here. You know, everyone's really familiar with the Public Works fire. It was on Wednesday the 11th into the Thursday the 12th morning. You know, we had significant damage, and that's been one of the challenges we've been, you know, overcoming and going through. You know, the $1.6 million worth of building damage and $400,000 worth of equipment damage, among other damages, you know, it's been challenging. You know, and as a board and as a department and just as a county, you know, we've been meeting those challenges and moving forward, taking the good with the bad. So our consultant, Widseth, they're starting to touch on the designs. This is just a preliminary layout I received last week. It's kind of fun to see a drawing on paper. I don't know if this is what it'll actually look like, but something to look at nonetheless. And if you go to the next page here, you know, when I talk about all these different challenges, you know, the Public Works Department's had many employees, you know, step up and make good with the bad. You know, Randy last week won a award of excellence for his additional contributions to Morrison County for all that extra work he's been doing with the fire. It's so well deserved. It just shows you the dedication of the employees that you have here in the county. So that same time frame, there was actually a FEMA event on May 12th. You know, so the morning after our fire, there was the rest of the storm. There was significant damage countywide. City of Piers actually lost their public works shop as well. It blew over. They were able to find something inside their community. Obviously, a little bit smaller operation than ours, but challenging, right? You know, we had having a fire and a giant storm event. You know, so we had staff throughout the county doing a lot of storm cleanup. This is a CASAF 5 picture here. You know, pretty nasty there. And then you go to our next one. Then we had more fun. You know, I was going through this presentation and I didn't have anything on the storms, and I was showing it to some of my staff, and they said, well, you didn't even touch on the Randall flood. And I thought, man, I think I just blocked that out. It's just been such the summer. But, you know, June 24th was quite the event for our community, and it still is an event. You know, the city of Randall is still overcoming that. But, you know, from our perspective, it was very unique. You know, it was almost a 5-day stretch where we had a considerable amount of roads closed. Had a lot of structure evaluation, and again, a lot of staff that really stepped up. This next picture is just kind of a fun one. You know, it wasn't just the people that were affected by the project. You know, even the wildlife too. You see a little fawn there. It's kind of stranded on an island, if you will. But kind of a fun photo. But when I talk about that staff, you know, again, we had a lot of employees that were recognized for their efforts. You know, going above and beyond essentially the call of duty. There's a a handful of public works employees in there, mixed in with your sheriff department there. And, you know, we're just so grateful to have those kind of employees working for the county that are willing to put forth those efforts in adverse conditions. So kudos to all of them. And then, you know, the snow plowing, it's coming. There's a chance of snow Friday. You know, I mentioned a little bit earlier, John talked about snow plowing in general last year. We have some pretty unique equipment that gets utilized. When you look at some of the statistics in 21, 22, we actually had snow events where we sent plows out 37 times. That's about 9 times more than average. We averaged 28 times a season. If we go over our next page here, you look at our system. We have a very large system here in Morrison County. You know, 728 miles of road. That takes a significant amount of staff and time to complete the cleanup after a storm event or a snow event. So here's our plow routes. We have 20 plow routes inside the county. You know, for this year, we're leaving them all the same. We're leaving all the plow routes the same, but our locations are changing up. So if you go to the next slide, if you remember this slide from their presentation last year, you know, in 21, 22, we had 11 plows dispatched out of Little Falls, 6 dispatched out of Pierce, and 3 out of Randall. And you look at their average route time, it's about 45 miles, takes 6 to 8 hours to complete. When we look at 2022, 23, we go to the next one here. You know, with our fire, we have to rearrange some stuff, so we're actually reducing plows coming out of Little Falls. So we're gonna have 8 dispatched out of Little Falls, 6 out of Pierce, and 6 out of Randall now. You know, our routes are staying the same at the 45 miles. They're still gonna take 6 to 8 hours to complete. It's just gonna be a different look for people. You know, the way the route might get plowed is gonna change. And as we have a couple events, we'll just continue to adapt and adjust and try to make the best out of the situation. We had 2 new tandems this year to our fleet. They're quite the rigs. You know, they're shiny, they're new, and they have a lot of really cool equipment on them. These plows have digital computers inside that control our sanding operations. They also have underbellies that help our efficiency. And, you know, they replaced 2 plows or 2 tandems that didn't have underbellies on them, and they more of a mechanical kind of spinner versus this digitally controlled. So as we continue to upgrade our fleet, we're increasing our efficiencies just by having some of these smaller amenities that are included on newer vehicles. You look at this is again something that got hit really hard in inflation. You know, a truck in 2022 cost $265,000. A truck for 2023 is $310,000. You know, so we're gonna continue to navigate these equipment issues, but you know, the investment into our fleet really makes a big difference. This is actually a slide from John, or actually, this is my slide, but the picture is from last year. So when I'm talking about the sanding and salt operations, this is the back of the truck. You can see a brine tank on there, and then our sander and the spinning operation that'll distribute the salt. So last year in 2021, 22 was the first year Morrison County went to 100% salt application. So we got away from doing a salt sand mixture, and we started to see some of you know, a reduction in the material used, and that's what we're after, to gain these efficiencies. And by having these newer vehicles that can control that application, we'll continue to see these efficiencies. So in 21, 22, we averaged about 70 tons of salt per event, and that's a reduction of 20 tons of material per event. Granted that the 20 tons included sand, but nonetheless, that's quite the reduction of material that's going on the road. And we're still seeing effective ice control inside the county, so that's pretty neat.
Yeah, it is.
And, you know, we just talked a lot about those trucks. They're shiny, they're new, and, you know, as an adult, I think they're pretty cool, and I want to see them up close. And you think about some of those safety aspects with kids. Kids in general gravitate towards large equipment, and we took the time this year to restart snowplow safety with the elementary schools inside the county. You know, it had been had been stopped the last couple of years of COVID. With things relaxing, we're able to reestablish it. So it's just a wonderful program that we do in outreach to all the elementary schools. So we actually ended up visiting 11 elementary schools, talking with second graders. And you can keep kind of flicking through the slides here. We had 490 students inside the county participate. So you can see Randy Wilmus and Johnny Cole up there in front of a class. They talk about the plows. If you go to the next one, everyone's very interested in them. They get to see them up close. It's kind of neat for them. But we can also explain, why you shouldn't be standing next to the road when that plow is coming by, or some of those kind of different items. So you go to your next one, that's actually Becky's son when we were up in Randall, so he really got a kick out of that. Good reviews from everybody. So there's the Swanville students, really enjoyed the snowplow safety. I think this was the Randall students, but I'm not 100% sure. And we got a bunch of thank you cards. But, it's just so important to have some of this community outreach. They're large pieces of equipment, and, they can be quite dangerous. So just to start early installing that, not fear, but understanding of what the equipment's for and what's safe and how it's safe to be around it really helps our community and hopefully keeps some of the kids safe. We always present to the second graders, but since we missed the last couple of years, we had the third and fourth if they wanted to come down and see the trucks too, so they got a little bit as well this year. Like I said, there's a chance of snow on Friday. Road conditions are really maintained well by MnDOT. So if you ever are curious, what are the road conditions? You can check out the MnDOT 511. It's a wonderful website, has road conditions throughout the whole state of Minnesota. We're fortunate to have a pretty good trunk highway arteries or veins running through the middle of our county, and it gives us great information on how our roads are here. And our last slide, pretty unique. We had almost the whole group together. So I think we're only missing 2 people, but that's your whole Public Works Department, including the guys out of Piers. So we don't often have that opportunity to snap a quick photo, and that happened a few weeks ago. So it's nice. Kind of neat to see. That's all I got for you. That's kind of the 21-22 in a nutshell there. It's been quite the year.
Commissioner Wilson.
Tony, I just want to thank you for this report. I think it's real important. I think the general public a lot of times doesn't understand all the things that Public Works does do. Steve always gave us a report a lot of times on snow conditions, and that always stuck to me, how different snows, temperature, how you do things differently between each snow. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I like those reports just to refresh our mind that why we go out, why we don't go out, and those things. So I appreciate this because I know there's a lot of things that are done, and we spend a lot of money on highways and public works that I appreciate the fact that you bring it to our attention, all the things that you have done. So thank you.
Absolutely. We really appreciate the board's support, and you can see through our roads that it really does make a difference.
Commissioner Winter.
Again, correct me if I'm wrong, Tony. I believe you've missed a project at the off ramp for the Sioux line. I believe that is completed too.
That is completed. We did install an on-off ramp for the Sioux Line Trail by Blanchard Dam. I left that out just because I was focusing on the Road and Bridge Department. We also had quite the year, and it's still continuing to have quite the year in our Solid Waste Department as well. I could try to focus on Road and Bridge because we talked about everything inside Public Works. We might be here till tomorrow.
But again, that's you go check it out because now, well, I think they're closed now, the trail is, but it'll open up again in December. So people will be able to actually take their ATVs across the Blanchard Dam Bridge. Yeah, so that was allowed this past year. So one of our operations was to get an actual on-off ramp installed. The guys found some time here this fall, and we got that going right before November. So the month of November, the Sioux Line Trail is closed, and it opens back up in December. But what that does, it allows us to have some more maintenance time. So we're actually fixing some different things on bridges throughout this time, and we're not disrupting some people's deer hunting as well. So it's kind of
two birds, one stone, if you will. Yeah, and then for that actual on-off ramp, some siding will be getting installed here through the month of November, and it'll be open for everyone to use. It's a really nice little on-off ramp. Has a bituminous lip to prevent gravel from dragging up onto the trail for the other people, and ATVs will, I think, utilize it and like it a lot.
Commissioner Wilson?
Just for clarification, as long as Randy brought up trails, the trails are closed down for the month of November.
Sioux Line Trail.
Yep,
is-
the
yes,
Sioux
sir.
Line Trail, and then when that's open, four-wheelers and other vehicles are allowed to go on them until the groomer goes out the first time. After the groomer goes out, then the four-wheelers and those types of vehicles are not allowed on the Sioux Line Trail, correct?
Yep.
Okay, just so we got an understanding of exactly how that works.
Yep.
Further comments, gentlemen? Tony, it's not quite a year since you came on board with the county, and I don't know if there's been a new department head that's probably had more challenges in their first 12 months or less here, but I appreciate your work ethic and your leadership and your willingness to work with this board and keep us informed and build understanding here. And I think you're doing tremendous work in serving the people of Morrison County, and we're really lucky to have you. But I also feel for you because, man, talk about learning to hit the curveball, at 90 miles an hour. So hang in there, and we'll hang in there with you and support you however we can. It'll be a good year. Yes, we will. Yes, we will.
I appreciate that, Mr. Chair. And, I touched on it. We're very fortunate to have fantastic public works employees that work with me. And fantastic administration. Mr. LeBlanc helps considerably and guides me a lot. So to have those kind of infrastructure, if you will, inside the county, it really helps, especially a new department head go through some adverse challenges. I'm not going to say I'm not a little more gray in my beard and a little balder on the back, but it's been quite the year nonetheless, and I'm very happy to be here, and I appreciate the board's support.
And I almost forgot, and because it also falls under his purview. Plus, we got a new cell over there at the east extension there at the landfill too. So a lot of things happening. We're gonna hope that the snow well, we're not gonna hope that the snow misses us because we could use it for deer hunting this weekend, but we only need a little bit to track. So.
Yes, sir.
Anything else, fellas? Tony, I wish you a great, I did have one question. I'm sorry. Early in your presentation, the 4th Street, here in Little Falls, and you had talked, we'll have the first lift the first lift is on the road there, but you had mentioned about sidewalks. I got the impression there's going to be areas where the sidewalks will not get completed this year, and you said there was like a temporary or something. How is that, or can you explain that a little bit?
So the first lift is on. They're actually working on sidewalks right now, trying to beat the rain, some of it. So what they've done is they're installing the crossings to go across 4th Street, and then I believe it's the east side, all the sidewalks are getting installed. And where they can't, some of the areas have temporary bituminous pavement that'll get removed next year.
Okay.
And then the rest of the areas have recycled concrete material that will be going in place just to fill a void. And then on the other side of the road, where there'll eventually be sidewalks, but haven't got to this year, that'll just be off limits, so you only have one walkway along the road instead of two.
So will that, in that situation, on that side of the street, will that be flagged off, or?
Yeah, it'll just be inaccessible, because, there won't be a path, it's essentially a hole.
Okay, very good, appreciate that, thank you. Anything else for Tony? Gentlemen, thank you again, Tony. I look to Mr. LeBlanc and our administrator's report.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr.
Tony,
Chair.
your board.
Not related to Tony, although exceptional report, but related to an annual report. Just a reminder to the board, this is something that you may see more of our departments, one per month of an annual review of their progress and what their contributions have been for the county. So, and we'll move that around so everybody gets a chance to provide that update to the board here through 23. So thank you for that, and great job, Tony. I think Tabitha gets first crack.
So, and I apologize for that, I apologize, Tabitha. So, gentlemen, we need to address our schedule and committee reports, and the dates we are looking at, Tabitha, are
November 13th through November 26th.
13th through the 26th, and our leadoff hitter is Commissioner Jelinski. Hammer away.
Cool. I'll start on the 15th. At 7:30 that morning, I'm going to be delivering a bunch of turkeys to the food shelf here in Little Falls with the NWTF. At 8:30 that same morning, we've got a county board planning meeting. After about 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock or 10:30, 10:45, don't know what time it will be, but we'll have a third quarter budget meeting. At 6 o'clock that evening, we've got a planning commission PCBOA meeting. That's all in this room. On the 16th at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I've got a Hands of Hope meeting, which is virtual. On the 17th at 10 o'clock in the morning, I have a Central Minnesota Emergency Services Board Owners and Operators Users Group meeting. That is virtual. On the 18th at 10 o'clock in the morning, I have a Central Minnesota Emergency Services Board RAC meeting. And that is virtual. On the 19th, as I've done for the last X number of years, I will be helping Partners in Policy Making, and that'll take me down to Bloomington, Minnesota for the afternoon, speaking with their classes down there. On the 22nd, at 9 o'clock in the morning, we have a county board meeting. At 12 o'clock that same day, I have got a law library meeting. I believe that's upstairs. On the 24th, which is Thanksgiving, I would have a SECB meeting, but that's been canceled. And, Mr. Chair, that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Jelinski. Commissioner Wilson.
On the 15th, I got community development at 12 o'clock at Pine Country Bank. And on the 18th, I've got Mississippi Headwaters in Walker at 10 o'clock. And that looks like all I have on my schedule at the moment.
Commissioner Lemire.
All I have is on the 14th, Yellow Ribbon Network of Morrison County, 9 o'clock. And where's that at, Matt?
I'm sorry, 3:30 at the Little Falls Legion.
I gotta edit that.
Anything else, Commissioner Lemire?
Nope.
Commissioner Wincher.
Okay, on the 15th, I'll be at the city council in Royalton, and that's gonna be at 7 o'clock. On the 15th, I can see if I can get over to Great River, or I have a GRL meeting, Great River Regional Library meeting, and that's at 5 o'clock in St. Cloud. I'm gonna see if I can get them both in. On the 15th, it was planning commission or planning session. I don't believe there's a planning session, it's just Board of Adjustments on the 15th, so there's nothing on the docket for the planning, just BOA, and it's one from Little Falls.
Oh.
On the 17th, I'll be TCC here in Little Falls at 5:30. On the 18th, I'll be Soil and Water, and I'll get all those meetings used to be here at the courthouse, now they're over at the Morrison County Soil and Water Building, so that's where they'll be at 8 o'clock. And I think for the rest of it, you guys got me covered, thank you.
So I have a couple things here. So on November 16th, from 10 o'clock till noon, I have a Region 5 exec board meeting at the Region 5 office in Staples. That afternoon, from 3 to 4:30, we have a community health board meeting. Commissioner Wilson.
Yes, yes, we do.
Okay.
That's
So
what date is that again?
that is Wednesday, the 16th.
Yep, that's right.
We will have that meeting. I will ask the board to excuse me from our 9 o'clock meeting on the 22nd, as I have a conflict with another board meeting that got moved because of the Thanksgiving holiday. So in my absence, Commissioner Jelinski will conduct our board meeting on
You're
the-
excused.
on the 22nd.
We'll
Thank
allow you to-
Thank you. That means that your board meeting on the 22nd will probably be done by 9:30.
There we go. There we go.
Other than that, I should be good to go.
Do you have Ag Society on the 17th?
I believe there is not an Ag Society meeting on the 17th, as they had their annual meeting on, I believe it was the 1st. So that has already taken place. So
And then the Mississippi River.
in the Mississippi River, one watershed, one planned meeting on the 22nd from 2 to 4. I will not be able to attend because of my meeting in St. Joseph, Minnesota that day. That would be all I would have, gentlemen.
When is an airport meeting for me? I never got a notice for it, so.
I have it in my notes.
HRA.
And November 1st was on a Sunday, so I don't know if that's counted as a week.
But usually it's
This meeting also.
The third Thursday,
I want to ask her what, if
So the 17th,
this is planning and that's.
At 12?
yep.
13th of December. Planning.
So can I ask you, just, and not to doubt Commissioner Jelinski, but on December 13th, will that be a planning meeting or will that be a board meeting?
the board is here, so it should be planning.
December 13th is planning.
Okay.
I don't have it.
I will also be doing interviews that day, so I will also be absent there.
On the 13th?
close to it though.
Seeing no other business to come before the board.
Yeah, we got one, I think.
We do.
Are we going into executive session?
Not yet, Mr. Chair, and I know we're a little bit out of sequence as we've been going into our closed sessions over the past few weeks, but this is relevant to our union discussions. So if it's okay, Mr. Chair, I'd like to bring forth my next action for the board.
Please do, and I apologize for my inconsistency here.
No, it's mine, Mr. Chair. And so today I bring before the board a 3-year contract for the LELS corrections to cover years 2023 through 2025 for our correctional officers who work within our jail. And gentlemen, this, I'm proud to say that the union group has ratified the offer from the county, and today I'm asking for board approval. I'd like to go over the summary of changes for the tentative agreement. First is that it is a 3-year contract. Second, the agreed upon proposal is COLA in the amounts of 3% for years 23, 24, and 25. And effective 1 January 2023, the county would add 2 additional steps to their pay scale and with a 2% increase of each. Longevity, where we recognize our long-term employees, as seen earlier this morning, we would increase a lump sum payment at 15 years from 1% to 2%, and at the 20-year mark from 2% to 3%. In paragraph 4, Article 19.3, all full-time and part-time employees will receive time and a half for working holidays. Paragraph 5, on Article 16.1, our compensatory bank increased from 85 hours to 100 hours. And paragraph 6, Article 25, uniform allowance is to be paid at $475 each year for the term of the contract. That's an increase of $17.75 from 2022. Paragraph 7, as the county will adopt Juneteenth as a recognized holiday when recognized and adopted by the state of Minnesota. On paragraph 8, Article 23.9, the healthcare savings plan, that clause was removed from the contract as the union asked to not participate in that benefit. In paragraph 9, Article 10, shift bidding, this is not to be added to the contract, but it was included in the summary, and this highlights seniority choosing shifts. I will work closely, as will the sheriff, with the jail administrator to meet with the employees. We are going to try this out for a year and see how we can get those folks that have more seniority at least an opportunity to work the shift that they want. However, that doesn't mean they'll be locked in. The jail administrator has talked about a 3-in-1, so you get your preferred shift for 3 months and then 1 month you don't, or 4-in-2, or something of the like. This isn't new for those that work shift work, specifically 12-hour shifts, but it's something that the jail would like to try out, and we do recognize this and use it throughout the county and other areas. And the last piece is the lead correctional officer. The union has asked for the county to reevaluate this position. This also will not be included in the contract. However, in working with HR along with the jail and sheriff's office leadership, we will consider re-looking at this position. Gentlemen, that is a summary of changes as proposed in the 23 through 25 LELS corrections contract, and I'm looking for your approval.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to make a motion on this.
Motion by Commissioner Jelinski, second by Commissioner Wincher. Discussion. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, the only discussion that I will have is that it took a team to ratify this contract. A major team member is to your left. The administrator did a lot of work on this, and I realize he did not do this by himself at all. I get that. This is a team effort. It took a team to do this. It took a team to come up with this, and I want to applaud the team. Not one individual, not the board, not upstairs, downstairs. It took a team to do this, and I want to just say thanks to that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Jelinski. Further discussion. Commissioner Lemire.
I just want to say that we had multiple meetings on this. We had multiple back and forths with the union, and we didn't get everything we wanted, and they didn't get everything they wanted. This is the best for both of us, I believe, at this time. And thanks to all those involved. Administrator LeBlanc, you did a great job, and that's all I have.
Anybody else?
I just want to say thank you too for all the work that you guys have put into this, and you've had everybody's feelings at stake, and you've looked at everything, and I appreciate where we got to.
Further discussion. Further discussion. Seeing no further discussion, gentlemen, this is a roll call. Commissioner Wincher. Aye. Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
The chairman votes aye. All those voting in the affirmative, motion prevails.
And now, Mr. Chair, I would ask for the board's approval to move into closed session to discuss our other contracts.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chair.
Second?
We have a motion by Commissioner Lemire, second by Commissioner Wilson, that this board should move into closed session.
Both
Mr.
with the
LeBlanc.
amendment for November 8th and the potential for November 15th after planning next week.
Oh, copy that. That'd be my motion, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? We are in closed session. We'll take about